Welcome to the Alternative Dog Moms podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom for more than 10 years. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I began raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott from the Believe in Dog podcast. For more than 10 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself. And I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned in case it could help you too. As the Alternative Dog Moms, Kimberly and I are bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and the brilliant people we're meeting along the way. Now let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
I'm very excited about our guest today.
You're always excited about our guest today.
I know. I get excited to talk to people and ask questions. And, I have a lot of questions. So we have Amanda Wilbourne, and I met her last year. She is the owner of Nautical Dog. It is a retail store in Williamsburg, Virginia. And she's also the creator and the host of the More You Know Pet Wellness Summit. And I was there last year. That's where I became Dr. Katie Woodley's biggest fangirl, if you remember.
I do remember.
And Amanda, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I look at our pet retail people, like you're on like the front lines of the raw feeding.
Yeah.
And I'm just so curious, how did you get into this? What is your origin story of opening your store?
So funny, I had this conversation with someone the other day. I don't really have like a cool story of, how I evolved or like some inspirational story. I was actually 20 years old when I first opened the store,
Oh, wow.
and I knew nothing about nothing, and I knew nothing about that also. So, the store, started off as this like cute, like little, boutique store. I sold like ridiculous things for dogs, cats, and has evolved to what it is today in terms of like how I got into the nutrition and the food. My first dog as an adult was my corgi Roxy, and she was a genetic nightmare mess of a backyard breeding corgi. But I was 18 when I got her, and I knew nothing about anything. And she had lots of allergies and lots of issues. So, I went down the whole realm of, the allergy testing and the vet stuff. And with all of my research, started looking into different types of food, and I came across raw food. And, I didn't have anything to lose. Nothing else that I was doing was working, and tried it. And it didn't fix it, but it helped it tremendously. So that's really how I got into it. And, the first food that I ever carried in the store was raw food. In fact, it was Primal back when Primal was in white bags with a sticker on the front of it, like slapped on the front of it. That was a really long time ago because I opened, it's been almost 19 years now. So that's like my short story. And I've expanded a lot over the years, and now, fully into nutrition and done lots of things with that over the years. But yeah.
I think like so many people come to it from a health issue, right? Like,
Yeah, I know. So I often, when people ask me about, because I like to share what I feed to my dogs and do that on social media, but I have no desire to work with anybody on what they do with their dogs. I mean, just the idea of it is just, it's like, yeah, it's not appealing
It's
at
hard.
all.
It's hard.
Yeah. And so I always tell people, go to your local independent pet store and talk to the owner or manager and have that conversation, because it's astounding what not just about feeding fresh food, but just about everything that you bring into your store.
Correct.
And what impressed me the most is I go to SuperZoo almost every year, and I walk the floor with a pet store owner. And the way she looked at products was so different than the way I would look as a consumer would look at product. I was excited about everything, whereas she was scrutinizing everything. And if it was going to end up in her store, and I was wondering, how do you determine what you're going to add to your store, and what does that process look like?
So my whole philosophy is like, if I wouldn't feed it to my pets, would I carry it? And you have to take that with a grain of salt too, because obviously I have a store that sells kibble. I don't feed my pets kibble. I feed either raw or gently cooked. So I look at it multiple ways. So, I say, what would I feed my dogs if I could not afford to feed raw? What would I feed my dogs if I came in off of the street and I was feeding, one of the big brands that, are pushed so much? What would be a good starting point for someone like that? Like what brings them into the door? What gets them started? 'Cause you got to start somewhere, right? And I think that's one thing that people overlook a lot of times with store. Like if I could have a store that only sold raw food, like that would be absolutely amazing and great. However, that's really scary to a lot of people, right? Like, you've fed kibble like your whole life, and we're just trained that, you scoop this bag and you scoop this food out and you pour it in a bowl and then your dog eats it. So when someone comes in the store and they want to feed a better food and I take them to the freezers, it almost is kind of scary to them, right? And they're like, oh
Yeah.
no, like back up, like that, I don't want to do that. So it's just like finding where, the good starting points. And then, you also got to think about price too. I mean, there's a lot of awesome brands out there that I would love to bring in, but I just don't see it from the consumer side of like, is someone actually going to pay that for it? And if they
Hmm.
pay for it once, can they continue to pay for it, every single month? And of course, I'm looking at ingredients, I'm looking at sourcing, I'm looking at packaging. A lot of really great companies have really ugly packaging, and unfortunately, stick it in a shelf or in a freezer, and if the packaging isn't good, it's not gonna sell. So it's such a multifactorial, like, thing you gotta look at. And then I also like to know, like, who's working for the company, like, what are their ethics and,
Yeah.
you know, are they in distribution? There's just so many things.
Yeah.
So when people come in and come into your store, like, are they there because their dog has a health issue? Are they there because they just want to do the best for their dog? Kind of like what's like the commonalities of who you see in your store?
So if someone comes in and they are looking for a new food, chances are there's something wrong with their dog. If they are specifically coming to me for it. So whether that's an allergy, the dog has cancer, the dog is getting picky, that's, why they're coming. However, we do get a lot of people who come into the store that are just shopping around, they're using the dog wash, they're visiting the Cat Cove, and we can start talking to them, and maybe their dog or cat has a problem that's not a big enough problem that they wanted to come talk to us about, but they tell us, "Oh, my dog itches a lot. I, do this." And then we could say, "Well, actually, like, have you thought about, changing your pet's food or, adding a topper or supplement?" So it's it's hard, like I said, but if they're coming to me for food, it is usually a reason why. I wish more people just came in and just said, "I want to feed a better food," but unfortunately, I don't see that as often as I would like.
Do you see a lot of people? Because one thing I've noticed is a lot of people are starting to dive a little deeper into the ingredients of food. So are you seeing sort of maybe an elevated education or just curiosity, or is this more of a social media thing where people are kind of picking things apart?
I think it's more social media. I don't see that. I mean, I still have one of the things that we give out to people, especially people who are like new feeders or like new customers to the store. I have a brochure that explains like ingredients that AFCO allows and what those ingredients mean. And like to this day, people are still shocked. Like, what do you mean they can put that in the food? Or what do you mean? So I don't see that as much. But I guess it's getting better.
Mhm.
But you still get people who blindly just feed, whatever because their vet or their neighbor or their friend told them that it was a good food, and they start out looking at turn it on the back and looking at the ingredients.
Oh, yeah. I recently posted sort of a meme video. It was a clip from a movie, and I was like POV, my opinion about feeding rice to my dogs. And, man, I got hit with people, "Well, good luck when your dog gets DCM." And I made a rule for 2025 that I'm not doing the back and forth anymore on social media. I
Doesn't do
just
any good.
Yeah, it's just like it never gets me anywhere, but I'm always so curious because it's just like, why do you think rice is going to prevent DCM. I mean, but
All
these
that
things,
taurine that's in it.
yeah.
No taurine in rice, everyone. Sorry, let me clarify that. Um,
But it's just like so fascinating how information gets out there and it sticks and there's no getting rid of it. And people are passionate about their beliefs.
I still deal with that one like
Yeah.
daily. I mean, I it's like the gift that keeps giving. Like people still talk about it. I can't believe it hasn't died off. Yeah, but
I saw a picture this week from a raw feeding group where it's someone's dog's meal and they sprinkled rice along the top. And I don't even think it was cooked. And it's just like, they're like, well, I just want to add some grains. And I don't join those conversations. I don't do
I
it.
don't either.
I just
I
keep
stay out of those
scrolling.
I stay out of all of those groups for that reason, unfortunately. Because I deal with it so much all day long combating it, and, then the last thing I need to go is go join a social media group and combat it even more, like, it's hard. But I do think, to answer your question about, the ingredients of people feeding different things, I think that once you have people trained to look at ingredients, they're already there now, right? Because
Mhm.
once you know what you're looking for, you're not gonna go grab a bag of Purina, right? You're gonna go grab, something that looks because you now know what you're looking for, and that's kind of where, we hand out the flyers and, just be aware. I tell them, like, whether you're gonna buy food from me or somewhere else, like, you should know what's in your food. Like, you should be reading the ingredients. You shouldn't don't trust me because I said it, just like you shouldn't trust your friend or Google or whatever social media group that you're in. So, read your ingredients. Everyone should read your ingredients. Read your own ingredients, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was curious about that DCM one. It's, like, funny how sometimes, like, something will, like, just stick in our consciousness, and it's like, we can't get people to pay attention to anything else about pet food, but they
Right.
knew DCM.
Yeah.
Well, GCM just kills me because, we all know what is it? 1 in 3, I think now dogs are gonna die of cancer. And like we know what cancer thrives on, but yet we're worried about this other issue. Like I'll take DCM any day over lymphoma. Any day. Like I could
Yeah.
do something about that one. Lymphoma, once they've got it,
Yeah.
might slow it down a little bit, but it's not going away.
Yeah.
So the information that you give out, is that something you created?
It is, yeah. Well, the funny thing is the AFCO one is actually directly off of the AFCO site, like literally copy and pasted. That way I can tell people like I didn't make this up. This isn't something that I did. It's directly off of AFCO website. So I've got like, those brochures. I've got like information about raw food. I have various things. And, depending on the customer, and what they're looking for is going to depend on, what brochure or what information I give them. I mean, if they're not into raw food at all, I'm not going to shove that in their bag, but that's a topic for another day for them. So,
I always figure that because I have my mantra of meeting people where they are, which I got from just other pet store owners who do the same thing. The one in particular that I walked the floor with at SuperZoo, her idea was that, she gets them into their store. They're already going to start with a higher quality kibble because
a
that's what
thousand
she's going to
percent.
have in her store.
Yep.
And then she starts them with, while you're there, while you get these really cool treats. And it's just like every visit, it's just introducing them to something else. And it's like they get
Exactly.
home, my dog loved the treats. What else can I do? And she's like, within a year, even less than, they're now feeding raw.
Right.
Because for some people, they need to be shown that look how excited your dog is at mealtime now. And look
Right.
at all these other things that you can do. Not to mention, she talks to them about the little things that they can do other than just buying, raw food. But, like if there is at my local pet store, once a month, it's called Wild Wednesday. And so she has vendors there and they're handing out samples. And so you can go home with your bag of kibble, but then you can also go home with a sample of Grandma Lucy's
Right. I
and you
love
can
that. Yeah.
hydrate that and put it over your dog's food. I mean, I don't even feed kibble, and I love Grandma Lucy so much because they've given me so many samples. I
Yeah.
make dog treats with it. I now have a puppy. The puppy gets Grandma Lucy's. It's one of those where it's one of those things where just that type of interaction can change someone and have them start down that road. And especially once they start meeting other people who are doing the same thing, and it doesn't feel so isolating. Because what you were saying earlier, I was thinking, these people are also probably have a veterinarian that is completely not helping them out when it comes to nutrition and is not saying, hey, go to this store and get some raw food. So
Right.
they're really on their own. They may even have a spouse or partner or a friend at home who is like, you want to do what? You want to feed what? And so it can be very isolating and scary. Whereas going slowly and adding meal toppers and things like that, before you know it, you got a new raw feeder on your hands.
Well, and that's where I would rather be. I'd rather be like, let's start at a better kibble and then slowly introduce them. Like, I don't want someone to come in here and I change it so much that they buy everything the one time and then they don't ever come back because it
Mhm.
was too much too fast. And that's again, it's baby steps. I mean, for me, like I have 10 animals in my house. They all eat raw food. Like I can feed all 10 of my animals in less than 10 minutes raw food. Like,
Mm.
it's not as daunting as it seems, but, is it harder than feeding kibble? Well, of course it is, but, like, it's also harder to, like, go to the grocery store and, like, buy fresh foods for yourself and cook it versus going and finding something that's already, like, prepared or getting fast food. Like, it's the same kinda concept, so but baby
Yeah.
steps, you know?
Do you get the veterinary pushback where people start doing something and then their vet's like, "Oh my god, don't do
Time.
that."
All the time.
I don't understand though. I mean, I do understand, but and I have seen veterinarians change their minds, but this has been around longer than this community, like social media community, has been around. So social media has really elevated it. We're seeing commercials for fresh food. Farmer's Dog had a Super Bowl
Diet just
commercial.
thought of fresh food.
Yeah, yes. I mean, we're seeing all of this, and so
Yeah,
I'm so surprised that at the pushback when you were talking about lymphoma, my dog Scout had lymphoma and he passed in 2022. And when I was talking to his oncologist, and this was like during the pandemic, so it was like on the phone.
right.
And she's just like, "Well, I see that you feed raw. I'm going to need you to stop that." And I was just like, "Okay," because I don't argue with veterinarians anymore. And I continued feeding him raw. And by the time, because he lived for so long, way longer than she anticipated, for over a year and a half. And by the end, she was just sort of like, "Okay, yeah, do whatever you're doing," because it's obviously working, as she's seeing all of the other dogs she's treating come out of remission, pass away, and my dog's just plopping around doing fine. And it was just for her unheard of. And so it sort of like planted a seed. I know that she's not recommending raw to her other, you know, patients, but
Maybe
it
you won't be
was
as much pushback.
yeah, it's like maybe the next person who comes in there who feeds raw will have an easier time of it. Not that it was hard for me, but maybe she'll be like, "Oh, okay." That type of attitude. But I am curious about Hills and what they're gonna do
Yeah,
to
it's a
to
little
that food.
sketchy, but, I won't, at least they're opening their eyes to it. It's hard because, I say this with veterinarians, you know, I love my veterinarians. They're great. And I get a lot of pushback from a lot of them, in the area here, and a lot of them don't have very nice things to say about me. I just wish they'd be a little more open-minded to it, right? Like,
Wow.
let's just have the conversation. It's instead of like a hard no. Like my personal veterinarian is like, I was telling you guys earlier, I have a beagle who's 15 or 16 years old. She's been renal failure for 2 years. Then, you know, m- those 2 years ago, they're like, well, eat a buttermilk low protein. You need this. Of course, I didn't do any of that because I'm not doing that. And here it is 2 years later, and she is getting to the end stage, and I've come to terms with, you know what, like it sucks. It's okay though, because she's 15 or 16 years old. Like at some point your body just gets old and you're going to have a failure of something,
Yeah.
right? Because you're getting to the end of your life. But, my vet, he did ask me, and he's a conventional vet, and he was, well, you kind of know what you're going to do, and I know you're going to do what you want to do anyways. And he actually sent me a message later today. He's like, so I'm curious, like, what are you going to feed her? And I told him, and he was like, well, that's good to know, so I can give some people some other recommendations if they want to do something. And I was like happy. That I was like, well, at least he's like open to it. And I think, when you're looking at, an animal like her, where everyone's so quick to put them on, Katie or, this kibble or, whatever crap. And even Miss Bunny, she's so picky right now, right? Like she doesn't want to eat a lot of things. So, I've got some gently cooked foods for her that are, low phosphorus. But guess what? She doesn't want to eat them. So I think people should know, like, there's other options too, like stick a phosphorus binder in there and, there's just like so many options, and it just gets hard, with where veterinarians need to be. It has to be this way or there's no way.
Yeah.
And, there's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Speaking of my beagle right now, I think she is in the cookie bins because I just heard the jars open. I heard the tub slam down. She's just strolling around the store.
I bet they have a blast getting to come to work with you and sniff
Oh, yeah,
everything.
that's a great time.
And so you were actually one of the coolest pet stores in America last year.
Yeah, that was, like, one of my fun, like, achievements I've done had.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was fun. That was exciting for me, America's pretty big, so,
And so I think that was at SuperZoo. And so do you
yeah.
regularly go to like SuperZoo or Global or
So, funny story, I had actually not been to SuperZoo since my oldest child was born. Last year was the first year I had been back, and so he's 8, and so I just hadn't been, it's I have a hard time, like, letting go of things. So, to, like, leave the store and then, like, leave my I have 2 kids, one's 8 and one is 5. To leave them was hard, and then, winning that kind of, like, pushed me over the edge to be like, "It is okay, like, everything will be fine if you go away." So I'll be there again this year, so I just had to, like I used to go, I just hadn't been in a while, so I usually don't go to Global, I usually pick one. Global is, like, right around spring break, and I usually, do something family oriented for spring break, so.
so where do you find like new products and things for your store? Like, do you ever have like, distributors or stuff come in and you're just like, yeah, I'm not going to put that in my store?
All the time, all the time. I have no problem telling someone no. So, the reps love me or they hate me because I'm very like, absolutely not. I don't want to look at that or like, oh, that's really cool. So I had a rep here this morning. I get visits from my distributors, once every 4 to 6 weeks. So they're showing me me new things. Obviously I'm in like, different groups and I have friends in the pet industry too. So we kind of share different things, back and forth with each other. And I have some employees who like to spend the store's money. So they will find new products and order things too. So yeah, so it's kind of a combination of many factors.
So I know you said you have the dog washes and then you have like the cat cove. So you actually have like
Yeah.
adoptable cats there.
Yeah. So yeah, the Cat Cove, we added to the store. It's been almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in July. The Cat Cove is like my most favorite thing from my store. It's like the most rewarding thing. The Cat Cove is in my original space. So, because I've expanded over the years and I like left that space and went next door. And when that space became back open, it was a way, it had like, a dual purpose, right? So, the Schwartzie was my first shop cat, and so it's called Schwartzie's Cat Cove, and it's all attached to Nautical Dog. Like, you still have to enter through the main entrance of Nautical Dog, but, you know, most pet supply stores, their cat section is like a teeny tiny corner in the store, and they don't
Yeah.
get much love, and that's how mine was too, because the reality is there's more dog stuff. Dog stuff takes up more space. Dog stuff costs more money, so you make more money on dog stuff. So people don't give it a lot of space in a store. So when I saw that, I was like, well, I would like to do like a cat cafe in the store and then give a whole entire like a storefront to nothing but cat merchandise. And I contacted my Humane Society, the local one here, and I foster, dogs for them and asked them if they wanted to partner with me with it. I get no money from it. They don't give me any money. I don't get any adoption money. Nothing is exchanged. It is literally a passion project of mine. I pay for the rent, I pay for their food, I pay for everything, and they supply me with cats. They do cover their medical cost and things like that. I have nothing to do with like who gets to adopt them either, but it's been really cool. It functions as a cat cafe, except you don't have to pay to go in there. The store funds it. And people go in there and they can like sit in there and hang out with the cats. And if they fall in love, they can adopt them. We're coming up on 3 years and we're at almost 500 cats that have been adopted.
Oh, wow.
We're at like
Wow.
490 some cats that have been adopted in less than 3 years. So it's been an amazing project. And in fact, our Humane Society has to get cats from other shelters because they get adopted so quickly, which is amazing. But it's also I've been able to expand the cat stuff. I mean, I've got 2 glass freezers of raw cat food. I mean, and so that's been really exciting and, all the fun cat things. So that's like been my fun, like rewarding project that, at some point 10 animals is a lot of animals to have in a house and, my way to foster without bringing more animals into my home.
Oh, it's good to see the cats getting some love.
Yeah. Yeah, they need good food too, and, heck, I mean, talking about, like, issues with animals, I mean, gosh, like, what cat haven't you heard of that has, like, crystals or stones or then kidney failure and, cats love kibble, and so that's been, like, really fun educating people on, like, really what cats should eat, they typically have more problems than dogs do, but cats don't complain like dogs do, so,
Mhm.
you don't a lot of times find out until, later on that they're in renal failure, so.
And so what, inspired you to start hosting, like, your own big event every year?
Oh, just pure chaos and craziness.
I mean, it
So
sounds like you have a ton of free time.
with all the spare time I have on my hands, so I do a lot of little seminars, like little Q&A things in the store, like either every other month or once a quarter. And the first little like Q&A, not Q&A, but like the first like little like event I did in the store many, many years ago is I played pet food in the store after hours one night. And so that was like super eye-opening to people. And so then I started having, different reps and manufacturers and things come into the store, talk about their products, talk about that. And then I one day was like, maybe I'll make this the bigger thing. And Billy Hookman was like, yeah, I think you should do it. And I was like, but like how? And he's like, I'll help you. And he gave me some contacts and whatnot, but was like, you should just do it and set a date and people will come. And that is not true. You don't get to just set a date and people will come. It's like planning a wedding, actually, and even crazier than a wedding. But it's been fun and it's been really, really rewarding. And getting to meet people and hang out with people that are kind of think the same way that you do, and also, I have a lot of customers who don't know who any of these people in the industry are, but they like to come and learn about things and get to leave and say, wow, that changed my life. So, or will change my pet's life. So, this will be the third one. It's in a couple of months, and my stress level at this point is the roof thinking about it, but it'll be fine.
Well, I had a blast coming down there last year, except for the traffic from Baltimore to your part of Virginia is
Oh my
the
gosh. Yeah.
worst.
Yep. Can't avoid it. I'm telling you, to that DC area, it's not fun.
Yeah, it's 3 hours from me, but it took, like, 5.5 hours to get there.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Yeah,
But I'm
not fun.
coming again. It didn't
Right.
deter me from coming again.
Come, after the rush hour traffic, and it should be better.
So, I know you have Dr. Connor Brady, which I'm super excited to get to meet him, Susan Thixton, Rita Hogan, who am I forgetting? Amy Renz.
Katie Kanga.
Yeah, Dr. Katie Kangas, yeah, coming out to
Yeah.
the East Coast, yeah, her.
Yeah, and then Billy and Kelly will be here also. They're doing, like, the coffee talk the next morning, so, but yeah, that's gonna be super fun. Connor's hilarious, so I think he's gonna put on quite quite the talk for everyone. So
I am
Yeah, he's
I'm,
sure.
so
yeah,
much fun.
yeah, he's hilarious. Him and Brendan and Nick came to the store. So when
Oh,
Judy was
that's
having,
right.
it was
Yeah, last year.
The
yeah,
hurricane. Yeah.
the hurricane, so they needed
Yeah.
something to do, and you know, so funny because where they're from, you look on a map and something seems far, but it's actually not that far. I don't think they realized how far Williamsburg was from where they were at. Um, so they drove like overnight from they were in
Or they were in New
New
Orleans, I
New
Orleans.
think.
Yeah,
Orleans.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they were
So
in
they
New
were there
Orleans.
and they like drove overnight and like they just like showed up and like did this like super impromptu like Q&A. It was super fun. They were hilarious. So, looking forward to having him back. I wish all three of them were coming, but
Yeah, I got to meet them at the Feed Real Summit last year.
okay. Yeah, they're hilarious.
Just such a hoot. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, they're just like so genuine and real. And I do think that Connor is really good at just once again, just making it seem easy to people and it's
Mhm.
relatable. So I like having speakers that are relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people who go that aren't into this world. They just come because they're a customer of mine and we convinced them that they needed to go and they go and they're like, oh wow, this is great. So, yeah, it'll be good. I'm excited. Once it's done, I'm excited.
How many people do you think are your customers versus people like me who are coming because, I'm a nerd and follow all this stuff?
Last year was actually 60% of my customers and
Oh,
40% were
wow.
travel, which was great because, I the reason why I have it so close to the store is because I want my customers to come, right? Like I want them to learn about everything and then I can see the changes that they're making. So, but yeah, I haven't run the numbers this year to see the difference, but a lot of them are my customers because I see the tickets come through.
Oh, that's
So, which
awesome.
is always nice. Yeah.
I mean, it's great to have like that, like the community is so supportive of you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are like would be like your biggest competitors at this point? Is it like people getting stuff online? Is it the big box
Online.
stores
It's
online?
online. Yeah. Online is hard with raw because not a lot of places ship raw. But of course, you do have your, gently cooks, your farmer's dog and your ollies and things like that. So I do have people, who buy that. Like, "Oh, I could sell you something better and less expensive.
Yeah.
So, you know, convenience is a real thing. I get it. I'm guilty too. I will order stuff online because I don't want to wait for it. And I got two kids and it's hard to go to the store. But yeah, it's online, which is unfortunate, and I have a lot of programs that online places don't have, and in most cases, I'm actually less expensive than online. But I do think the assumption is that we're more just because we're local, right? And like, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So yeah, like shop at your local store, like they're usually less expensive. They care, right? Like and have done the research. You don't have to walk in my store and wonder, like, am I going to pick up something that has like some really not great things in it? Like, that's not you're not going to do that in here. Right. And I think most of your independent stores, I think, are about the same. So,
Yeah, I have 2 stores that I shop at, and both stores, it's like, they're some of the most well-researched, most knowledgeable people that I've met, and we can totally nerd out and have all these great
right.
conversations, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's important. I mean, you can't call your online places and ask them a bunch of like questions and get like actual answers that mean something. And I think, coming into a local store too, like there's a lot of people who work here and we all have our own experiences with things, right? And, we've all tried most of the products in the store. And, for me, I have a lot of animals, right? So like I feed a lot of things and try a lot of things and, you know, I typically have usually at least one hospice dog in my house because I like to foster like the old ones. And so, I have a lot of experience with that. And my store manager, she's got a lot of experience with like fostering animals with allergies. So, like, there's something that is said for like being able to come somewhere and getting to talk it to employees who chances are there's someone in the store when you come in who has or has had a pet with the issue that your pet has. So I think
Mhm.
that's helpful.
Yeah.
What kind of training and education do you do with your staff? Like, do you have a training program for new hires, or like, do
I
you want
don't.
people who are already savvy or?
No, that's a tough one. So, a lot of the manufacturers have online training and like there's like an online training platform and they get to take the training, answer the questions, and they usually get free products for taking the training. So I allow people to do that. I encourage them to, do their own research, look at things. And a lot of it's organic. I think, most of the I've only ever since I've had the store until pretty recently, very rarely do I have someone who comes to work for me who knows anything about pet nutrition. My kind of motto is like, if you're a nice person that's trainable, I can train you. But, outside of that, it's hard because it's such a niche, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
But, we have all these different trainings. Of course, we have the seminars and things like that. So I encourage them to come. And like I said, a lot of it's organic. You learn from shadowing people and you learn from people asking you questions, right? Like someone comes in, like, you can't take an online training and that training is going to say, well, my dog has XYZ. What would you do for this? That's kind of more on the spot type things and hearing it and listening. I mean, I learned something new. And if I don't know the answer, if someone comes in and they have a dog or a cat that's got an ailment that I've never heard of, well, guess what? I gotta go research it and figure out like what will work. And thankfully I have, a good network of my own people that I can like reach out to, to ask.
Yeah, Amazon ain't doing that for you.
Amazon is not doing that for you. I mean, shoot, even like, with my own self, with my old beagle right now, it's gotten issues. I got her blood work back last week and I literally was like, oh my God, I know this is awful. Like it's really bad. And I called Katie, can't get them. Like, I need your help. And, she recommended some products that I've never heard of and, like, put them in the mail to me, and I'm like, "Well, these are great, I'll carry them, like, if they work," so I'm curious to see. So, I have a lot of resources that, your online people don't have, and, like, resources that people, like, would pay a lot of money for, or I could ramble a lot about that, I'm sorry.
No, I think it's great for people to know that, like, this is the kind of resources that are at your independent pet stores.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we care we actually care, like, I can sell anything I want in this store, right? Like it's my store. I'm the buyer. I make the decisions. And I don't think that people realize that these big brands that I don't carry, nor would I ever carry, they will actually buy shelf space. Like they will pay me to carry their products in the store. It's not just about the money. Like I actually care, and your independent stores actually care. So I will not be bought out to sell something that I would never give my own pets.
So, like, when COVID and stuff happened, I'd imagine that was a pretty scary time.
That was scary. It was also like kind of fun here. So we were not open to the public. Of course, we were allowed to be in the state of Virginia. Like we were considered an essential business, but I had some staff that was kind of nervous and no one knew like
Yeah.
what was happening. So we were doing curbside only. And we joke because like, the staff could wear sweatpants and like whatever they wanted to work. And I set up my office in the front of the store. I like brought out like a folding table and like literally made my desk in the middle of the store just because I was like lonely in the back. And, happy hour started at noon every day. Who's going to tell us what we can do? It's COVID times, we're bored. So it was good that, some of my like most creative moments came from COVID because like you had to like really try to like stay afloat. Like, so I remember making these like, they were called like boredom buster kits, right? And like it was before like the lick mat things were like, they were like kind of new and, you didn't really see that many, but like I was like making these boxes with like lick mat and peanut butters and treats and different things. And like we would do like Facebook Lives and be like, we've got these like boredom busters, like you're at home bored with your dog, come, pick one of these up. We sold a lot of them. So, some of my most creative time came from COVID and I still implement a lot of that stuff now. So, everything's a learning experience. I definitely don't want to ever repeat that ever again, but I learned from it and I'm still here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like businesses had, to make it through that, you had to, like, get creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you, because as a pet store owner, I mean, your time is like not your own. So do you have time to do social media?
So I do all of my social media. That is the one thing that I would have a very hard time delegating. I like to be in control of that. I'm in currently my office, as you see. So I used to share an office with my other employees. And that office was like our stock room. That's where we like received inventory and people take their lunch breaks and like come in and out of. And I wasn't getting a lot done. So I had a bathroom in the store that we used for storage. We didn't use it as a bathroom. We literally just shoved junk in there. My husband, the builder, and I was like, "Can you turn this into an office for me?" So he completely gutted it out. And it's my tiny office. But, it gives me time. I don't work the sales floor, like, regularly, and I say regularly loosely, like, I'm here, like, 5 or 6 days a week, and obviously, like, I'm in and out of my office and helping people, coming and going, but unless I have an event or have something, I pretty much have a full-time job with social media, the marketing, email blast. I do
Mhm.
texting for customers. I'm always creating something. I'm currently like in the thick of creating the magazine for the summit that's coming up. So all of those things take a lot of time. And quite frankly, if I didn't have the staff that I have, I don't know how I would get those other things done.
I still have my magazine from last year, and I
That
made
was the point. I was hoping you would keep it.
like the bone broth jiggles recipe that's in
Yeah,
there too.
from Crude Carnivore.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
made that recipe right from the magazine.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the magazine came about because, the first year I did it, I just like brochures and like, random information in the bags. But, you know, I know me and I'm pretty sure most people are like me that when you're done with things like that, most of that stuff goes in the trash can because
Yeah.
you don't need little pieces of paper just hanging out, right? Like we're trying to like declutter things. So I was like, well, I'll make a magazine, put all of the stuff that would be on the brochures and the magazine, but get my speakers and sponsors and various people to give me content for the magazine. So it's almost acts as like a reference guide. And then in the back of the magazine was pages, blank pages for notes that you could take notes from the summit from. And that was my way of getting people to keep it and look at it. And, if I say so myself, I think the magazine looks pretty and it's, kind of like a coffee table piece. So, um, but yeah, it was funny. What I didn't expect to happen at the summit was after the summit, people were posting pictures of the magazine and like doing Facebook stories and stuff. And I had people calling from like all over the country, like asking to buy the magazine we were shipping. And I was like, well, I didn't know that was going to happen, but that's kind of cool.
That is cool.
So now I'm in the thick of making it and, regretting every day that I decided to do this. Super time consuming. Want to poke my eyeballs out making it, but when it's done, I'll be glad I did it. But right now it seems very daunting and it is very daunting. I'm lucky that my store manager, her previous career for coming to me, she was an editor for 20 years. So I have a built-in in-house editor that works for me.
Nice.
So
Well, I will be grateful that you did it.
yeah, it'll be very nice. I promise. The articles will be coming in and they look great. And I just gotta, put them in and, you know, make them look pretty. So yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'll see you in July.
Yeah, yeah. I'll make sure we have links in the show notes to check out your store, your social media, if people want to come to the summit. It's the only like kind of mid-Atlantic
Yeah.
event this year. So
Yeah, I think we've got like 60-ish tickets left. So I expect it to sell out at some point.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely sold out last year. It was
Last year sold out so quick because,
yeah.
Rod Daycare and we're here and, I was like their first place they were going to. So, but yeah, and then this year we sold a whole lot like in the first day, and then it kind of trickles off from there. Yep, yeah, like there was like that crash of people like in the very beginning who like bought all their tickets, and then the rest are at this point most of them will be my customers who are hesitant that don't understand like what all is entailed in it, or they don't know if they're going to be on vacation or something like that, so they'll wait till like the last minute, and but it'll be a full house again. I'm excited.
Yeah, get in on this, Dr. Connor Brady. I mean, he's coming right to the Mid-Atlantic.
I'm like, y'all, this doesn't happen. Like, this
Yeah.
is Ireland. I'm like, you're not gonna like, this isn't someone you just get to just like, see, regularly. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, he's great. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh, you're awesome. Thank you so much for your time
Thanks so
today.
for having me. I hope you guys have a lovely evening.